What's good, YouTube? Car if I can't hear Aqua Life, baby, you already know how it is. So today, guys, I wanted to bring you a deck profile on my Titamon deck. It's definitely a deck that I'm not really playing for like, the more competitive tournaments for me. I reserve that for Beelstar and, another deck, but it's a very fun purple deck. I really like Titamon. I just personally felt that if Titamon came out last format, I think he was a deck that would have been really strong for purple last format, as opposed to kind of like what are the trials and tribulations that we're facing in this format. Even though I do know there are people who have had success. I think Taste of Victory had the was it the Dr. Pepper with the the little splash of red to include ADP, and the Marcus for the Skull Greymon, which was actually very interesting too. But this version that I'm playing here is more of just a purple build. It's definitely good if you're a budget player, and you're not looking to spend, you're not looking to build Beelstar, you're not looking to spend a lot of money. You want a really solid purple deck that also gives you a lot of the fundamentals of purple in the deck as well. I think this is a very good deck going into it. So I wanted to just kind of go through the deck, and then we can talk about different things that you can play in your deck as well. Starting with the eggs, I'm generally someone who likes 5 eggs, so I run 4 Sunamon, 1 Demi-Marimon. I just like Demi-Marimon because I think he's the best purple egg ever. But you can easily not run him and just run 4 Sunamon. A lot of times the games don't really I feel like games don't really last. Especially with this deck, because you do want to kind of focus more on building up in your raising area, that you would go past 3 eggs a lot of the time. So there is definitely an argument to just run these eggs, but this is a decent egg where you can raise out, get a little early pressure, then get a little bit of filter in there. But the Sunamon egg is very good. Anytime when you discard a card once per turn, you can just draw a card. So it's just a solid card and just combos well with everything that you're trying to do in this deck. For the rookies, we got 2 Gazimon. You already know Gazi Gang, never sparking. 2 copies of the new Electmon. I really like this Electmon. When it on deletion, you can delete a level 3. So in like the Jessamon matchup, you can swing this card. They can block it with like a Blanc or whoever, and then you can pop the Blanc with it. You can pop the Huckmon to turn off the sister mons if they don't have a Jessamon on the board. You can pop the Huck to turn off. You can pop the Blanc to turn off the blockers for the turn 2 if they only have 1 Blanc. So easily just a solid card overall. 3 copies of Labradoodle, Labramon. Just a simple on-play, draw 1, trash 1. So if you have like a stack with Sunamon out onto the board and a lot of the other inheritables that revolve around you discarding, because this kind of feels like a Dark World deck. If you played Yu-Gi-Oh, it kind of feels kind of like Dark Worlds in a little bit. Diet Dark Worlds, I would say. But when you draw 1, discard 1, you're discarding from your hand, so you'll proc the Sunamon, you'll proc the Genkakumon, you'll proc the Goblymon, those other abilities that activate when you discard. So it's just definitely a combo heavy deck that you want to make sure that, and it kind of teaches you, make sure that you pay attention to what inheritables you have on the field and what are their triggering, what triggers their activation. And speaking of Goblymon, we have Goblymon here. So basically, during your turn, once per turn, when you discard a card, the Digimon in the stack gets 2,000 DP until the end of the turn. Very solid card. It's a very good card in the Titamon stack, because if you can discard a card and have him in the stack, it can put Titamon to 16k, which should swing over pretty much all, or most bodies, most bodies in security. Obviously, there's, people who play Shine, Yellow, and run the 2-drop TK, and, you can run into that unfortunate situation. But, this just let Titamon swing over. One of the things is that Titamon really reaches 14k, and if you're playing against the Bond decks, he can hit a Bond card. You're playing against Jessmon, you can hit an Omnimon. You're playing against, purple or black, and you can hit like a Zwart, and you don't really want to run into those. So this guy I think definitely helps you out there. And then the last rookie is 4 copies of the starter deck Gabumon. So this is essentially like your primary rookie. What he does is when attacking, you draw 1, trash 1. So he basically gives you Labramon's effect as an inheritable when you attack with it. So and you'll see why this card is the most important, because Titamon, his on Digivolves lets him discard, but he doesn't have a natural, turn by turn on attacking discard so that you can proc his ability to get 2k and an extra security check. So this Gabumon definitely is the one that you want, and it procs it all. Alright, so then we are moving on to the champions here. Champions, 1 copy of Ogremon. This is an on-play, discard 1, and pop a level 4 or lower. It's a decent card. I cut him down to 1 because a lot of people aren't really leaving out a lot of level 4s or anything like that, and, a 5 cost hard play for that. Now, you can't call it off Titamon, but a 5 cost hard play is kind of, it's pretty niche in a way. If your opponent leaves a Mechanorimon up on the board, and the black player's still moving slow, not really doing anything, this guy could definitely come in handy. Pop the Mechanorimon now, forces the black player to raise up or do something different. There is that. 2 copies of Vilemon. It's the blocker. 6k blocker because Balhuckmon pops them. 2 copies of Kinkakumon. So Kinkakumon is an interesting card. So what she does is, as an inheritable, you can discard 1 card to destroy one of your opponent's level 3 or lower Digimon. So this is a really good card if it's in your stack against Jesmon, because you can pop the Blanc or pop the Huckmon, whatever you need to pop, and then that can be detrimental to their blocking strategy, because a lot of Jesmon decks I see don't really run blockers. They utilize Systemon Blanc as the main blocker, which means that they want to always have at least a Huckmon on the board while they build up Jesmon to bring that out. So they always want to at least have a Huckmon on board to turn their Systemons into blockers. And I talk about Jesmon a lot because my meta in my area is heavy red, very, very heavy red, and there's just a lot of Jesmon no matter where I go. Maryland, Virginia, Jesmon. And so it's good in that regard, but otherwise he's okay. But more importantly, she does give you another ability just like Gabumon, so you can discard, so that helps also proc Titamon. Genkaku promote. You should go the other order, but Genkaku promote, I bumped him up to 3 because he's a card that when you bring him out, he gains rush, and if you stick Genkaku and Kinkaku into the stack, you can draw 1, gain a memory. So this is a very good game-ending play. This is a good attack combo play. If you can get this off with the with the Titamon restand on top of Black War Growl, that's at least 5 security that you can knock out in a turn. So pretty good card, a very good card, and one of the main combos. Plus he digivolves on top of a level 4 for 1 cost, so just in case you want to choke your opponent, or you just need to just draw a card so you can hopefully see something, see another play, that's pretty good too. And then, last but not least, 4 copies of, this is the Genkakumon. I should have probably done that first before, whatever. This is the most important level 4 in this entire deck. When you discard a card, you gain a memory. So what this does is basically if you guys remember the Chaos Gallon play, if the play was to raise up Black War Growl, Digiburst, put Guilmon onto the board so you can Digivolve into the Chaos Gallon, pop the Guilmon, gain a memory, pop one of your opponent's card, and then bring a rookie back, right? That was the general strategy. Well, this is kind of the same way, where you want this card in your stack. When you Digivolve in the Titamon, you'll discard a card, bring something back, because Titamon Digivolves for 4. This card will gain you a memory back, so it'll be a 3-cost evil. So if you start your turn at 3, it lets Titamon, be like, okay, cool, I came out, I didn't just Digivolve past turn, I Digivolved, did my combo, drew my cards, whatever else, and then, now I get my swing in. So yeah, you definitely want to make sure you have that. And if, like I say, if you have both of these in your trash, and you can call out the promote, you get a rush card, you get extra memory, and you get to draw a card and promotes like your mid game, late game like key card as far as attackers go. For the level 5s, 2 copies of Rebellion. Rebellion to me is an interesting card. Not the greatest in the world, but when you Digivolve on top of him, you discard a card, he gains retaliation and blocker until the end of your opponent's turn, and it's also treated as a black on all turns on the field. It's an okay card. It helps against Jessamon. Staves them off from like trying to OTK you in a turn. But otherwise, he's just an okay card. Really, a card you want to prime this card here to counter Jessamon for a turn, or just to put a decent 7k blocker onto the board for one turn, and then the next turn your plan should be to Digivolve on top of him. 3 copies of Skull Greymon. I really, really like Skull Greymon. This, and you can argue you can play 4. Skull Greymon. Basically, when he attacks, you can discard a card, and he gets 2,000 DP for the 3,000 DP, so he becomes a 10k swing. If you have Goblimon in the stack, he's a 12k swing. But when he's discarded, you can place him under one of your Digivolution stacks, and then he'll give them the retaliation as an inheritable. So you can use this guy, like you can discard this with Titamon, put it into the Titamon stack, give a retaliation. Titamon can bring another card out, and now when your Titamon swings as an Erasmus, if your opponent wants to swing over the Titamon, then they have to make the decision, do they want to lose the Digimon that's the Digimon that swings over, and usually that Digimon's a Mega. So but you can also put this under a blocker, like you put this under like a Vilemon or something, and then it really, as long as that Vilemon sits on the board, it's going to scare Jessamon players from even trying to attack you, because you're going to just direct a block. Though they have piercing, the retaliation will go off first because it's an on deletion ability, killing the Jessamon, and you're good to go. So very good card for this deck. And last but not least, Blackwood Groundmon. You don't use his Digiburst effect unless you have a stack with like Ogremon and Promote, and they're not really doing anything, like no real inheritables, and you don't really care about the Sunamon draw. But you don't really Digiburst with him. You just use him for the delete one of your opponent's Digimon to restand. You can play the Wergarumon if you want to, for sure. I just like the Black Wergarumon just because it gives me the option to Digiburst if I need to. A lot of times you don't, but if you need to. For the Megas, I'm running 2 Tactimon. I'm going to probably experiment with Mastamon, though, because Mastamon kind of feels like she's another Titamon to a degree and can progress the game faster, even though Mastamon's generally better in yellow, whatever. But Titamon's good because it clears rookies. Going up against like the Bond decks and whatnot, if they're leaving out rookies on the board for you, if you can get into Titamon for three and swing in. You can choose to clear their rookies, and or you can gain a memory, or he gains some power. Especially if he's the only card on the board, it's just a solid card to kind of gain control of the board a little bit too. So it's a very solid card, and it's pretty good on the restand too, where you can swing, gain power, restand Blackwood Growl, then swing again for 15, and so that you can swing over maybe a big card, maybe a Jessamon that's at 13k because they have the seal on the board. You can swing over it. So you got some options there. Actually, this is a really good card against Jessamon too. And then obviously the main boss of the deck is 4 copies of Titamon. This is the beast. This is the boy. So when you Digivolve into him, you ditch a card, and you can bring out a level 4 or lower from your trash without paying its play cost. There we go. And he also activates on play effects, so you can actually combo this with like Ogremon or something, and that's why you play Promote, because it lets Promote go off as well. Because Promote has to stack both of them in his stack to get the draw and the memory gain. If you don't put both in the stack, then he doesn't really gain anything, but he still has Rush. And then during your turn, once per turn, when a card is discarded, so it doesn't have to be him. Anytime you discard a card during your turn. He gains 2,000 power and security attack +1 once per turn. So this guy, a lot of times with Black War Growlmon, you can, that's basically, if you have a restand play set up with him after his ability activates, that's 4 damage right there. You're swinging for 4 security in the turn. Very solid, very, very solid. And that's the little 6s we run. So, and then last one of these are level 7s, running 2 copies of Millenniumon. Zwart doesn't feel right in this deck. Zwart is a great card, great tempo type of card, but Millenniumon just solves. Millenniumon just covers what this deck really doesn't want to see. Covers like certain, certain big boss cards that are just hard to remove. That Zwart's not really going to do much of. This is just, again, with Titamon. You don't really have a lot of control, I would say, in this deck. So this is just another card that you can go into, especially on top of like a Titamon or something, to remove a big body, remove a Zwart, remove a Craniumon, remove, whatever you need to remove. I mean, you can argue for Zwart. You can argue for Zwart defeat if you want. I just felt like Millenniumon, 2 Millenniumon was just the better choice for keeping your board state very stable. And again, you already know how I feel about him if you watched the previous videos. He's a sticky card. He stays on the board. It's not hard. It's not easy to get rid of him. Options and tamers. One Underworld's Call. This card is It's not great. It's not terrible, but it's not great. When you discard it, you draw a card, and if you activate it in security or just activate from your hand, you can call a level 4 out. I guess you can call out, like late game, you can call out a promote with this ability, and you get the rush. That's like another, bam, attacker here, but it's okay. One Glaive memory boost is basically just a memory boosting mat that grabs just a Digimon. It's, again, okay. Just adds a little bit of utility to the deck. 2 copies of Fly Bullet. You could probably sub them out for Fly Bullet. I mean, I'm thinking about cutting this card for Fly Bullet anyways. Maybe this for Fly Bullet, just to play it. Fly Bullet is my favorite option card in purple. It gives purple probably the best removal they have. Trump Sword can be played around, though it's good in the bond matchups and even Jessamon to agree. This is great in Jessamon too, but it just gives Titamon the removal that it needs. 2 copies of Purple Memory Boost. The trial decks go live today, so I put them into the deck because I had to. Yeah, you search the top 4, grab something, and then delay, gain 2 memory. Simple, easy. And then 2 copies of Matashita, Memory Tamer. So my thing is with purple, if you start at 3 memory in purple, there's just a lot of things you can do, and a lot of what purple wants you to do is actually start at 3 if you can. So if you can start at 3, like with the Matashita on the board, then that lets your Titamon plays go off a little bit better. The memory boost cards also help you start at 3 because if they choke you to 1, you can delay. You go to 3, then you can start doing your combo plays and things like that. So and it just picks up a card. To me, it's the worst. He's pretty much one of the worst memory tamers because he really doesn't do much of anything, impactful. But grabbing a card that you just look at your situation, look at your board state, look at your hand, and just pick a card from your trash that you are going to need or want to use at that time, and then pick it up. But that's the deck profile, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely like, comment, subscribe. That's Titamon. Again, let me know what your guys' Titamon builds are, what improvements I can make to this deck. I'm grinding out games for Store Championship right now, so probably not going to be really putting too much stock into this deck until, after that's over and regional season's over and things like that. But, yeah, fun deck, good to play test with, and if you need a purple deck, here it is. Alright, Cardfight King, we're out. Thank you. Aqualife. Peace.